So I thought about making this video after episode 3, but I wanted to give it a few more episodes and see where things went. But season 3 is halfway over now, and there's something I've been noticing that I wanted to raise. In short, it's the lack of political commentary in the show, which is not something I ever thought I'd be complaining about, but here we are. The graphic novel is a political allegory, the movie is a political allegory, and up until now, the show has been a political allegory. In the pilot episode, old Ivan describes Snowpiercer as a fortress to class, and the first 2 seasons are largely an exploration of the effects of rigid class structure, similar to the movie. The lower classes like mobility, the upper classes prefer rigidity, first class is above the law, the tailies are punished unfairly, etc, etc. Now don't get me wrong here, the show is much more than just a political commentary, but it's still a foundational aspect of the story. And yet season 3 has been largely void of political commentary thus far. The last we learned about the class system on Snowpiercer, Wilford had pretty much done away with it, and everyone was working their fingers to the bone in order to keep the train running, achieving some twisted version of Layton's dream of equality. And we have no idea what's been going on with the classes since the Snow Pirates returned. In Season 1, the tailies are freed because third class joins with them and they rise up against the oppressive regime together. In Season 2, Layton realises that leading is much harder than conquering and his idealism is challenged. Wilford retakes the train because he's a familiar face who makes himself a beacon of hope for the people. But in Season 3, they beat Wilford by sneaking on board the train and beating him up. In the first 2 seasons, I could clearly see the points the writers were making about class and how they applied to the real world. But the same can't be said for this season. If there's political commentary in there, I have no idea what it's supposed to be. Now, of course, Season 3 has explored other things, such as motherhood, marriage, community, and family, but none of those things have all that much to do with class. LJ and Osweiler are 30s, but Wilford still throws them a nice wedding. We thought that Wilford was interested in Zara's baby because it was Layton's, but we've since found out that it was because they were experimenting on it. Now, I'm not saying that every story needs to be political or send a message or have a deeper meaning, but I think that Snowpiercer does need to. It's a big part of why the story exists and a crucial part of the premise, and I'm worried that the writers have lost sight of that. Having said all that, there were 2 lines of dialogue in the latest episode that were political and gives me hope for the rest of the season, and I'll talk about them now. The first one was when LJ says, "When it's Mr. Layton's baby tree, it's not vandalism, it's terrorism." A statement about how political leaders think they're sacred and give themselves special protection. And the second line was from Osweiler when Till asks if he's going with them to the chains, and he says, "No, they're his people. And the competition, they can sod off." Which to me felt like a statement about how people rationalise their xenophobia with other things in order to ease their conscience and appear more socially acceptable. Both of these lines were really well placed, but it doesn't make up for the fact that the rest of this season has been pretty much totally apolitical. If there's other political stuff in Season 3 that you feel that I've missed, please comment below because I do really want to hear about it. Now, since some people get upset whenever I criticise the show, I wanted to mention some things I've been liking about the new season. I liked when Layton had a dream about the dragon's blood tree. It reminded me of Yona's clairvoyance in the movie. I know a lot of people didn't like the movie, but I am not one of those people. I also loved the end of episode 3 when we see Asha hyperventilating in her helmet. I like the design of the helmet, it's very menacing, and I can't wait for her to flip out and reenact Z for Zachariah on the people of Snowpiercer. I'm glad that they portrayed Josie as sort of like a small-less superhero in the first few episodes, and I find the idea of a new baby being cold-proof really interesting. I also think they did a really good job of portraying how everything on Snowpiercer was falling apart without the engine, and I like the mentions of the flu that killed off a few characters. I thought seeing Harvey in such a terrible state in the first few episodes was really grim and a great reminder of how dire things are on Snowpiercer. I actually had to have a cannula put in the other day and I kept thinking about poor Harvey stuck sitting at the controls day after day. And last but certainly not least, I loved how episode 4 explored Alex's feelings about Wilford and how, despite everything he's done to her and to others, Alex still can't help but care about him and see him as a father figure. I thought that was really well done. Well, that's all I've got for you lovely passengers. A bit of a short one this time. Hopefully I'll have more to talk about as the season continues. See you next time.